The storm had not yet broken, but the air already carried its weight. Clouds hung low, heavy and restless, swallowing the moon and pressing darkness down upon the quiet town. In the stillness of that night, there was a house that seemed smaller than the shadows around it. Inside that house lived Evelyn Hart, a young woman who believed her life was meant to be ordinary. She was 22, quiet by nature, and her world had never stretched far beyond the boundaries of her family's worn-out land. From the outside, she appeared fragile thin shoulders wrapped in a pale cardigan. Dark hair pulled into a braid, hands often dusted with flour from baking bread or soil from tending her small garden. People in town said she looked delicate, almost breakable, but those who looked longer saw something else in her eyes. A strength, a stubbornness, something untamed, though even she had not yet discovered it. Evelyn spent most nights at the old wooden table by the window, candlelight flickering over her face as she read whatever book she could find in her mother's forgotten chest. Tonight was no different, or so she tried to believe, but the world outside her window seemed changed, as if the night itself held its breath. She pushed her book aside and glanced at the trees beyond the glass. The forest pressed close against the back of the house, its black shapes swaying with the wind. Evelyn had grown up with those trees. She knew their whispers, their shifting moods. Yet tonight, something felt different. The branches seemed to lean closer, as though listening. The silence was not silence at all, but waiting. She shook her head and tried to laugh at herself. "It's only the storm," she whispered, though no one was there to hear. Still, her hands would not stay steady. She rose, walked to the stove, and poured herself tea. The kettle's hiss and the cup's warmth should have calmed her. But when she turned back toward the window, she froze. A shadow moved between the trees. It was not the shape of wind or branch. This was heavier, darker walking. Evelyn's heart thudded. She leaned forward, the candle's flame trembling as though it too had seen. For a moment she thought she caught the glint of eyes, golden, sharp, watching her with an intensity that rooted her to the floor. But then the shadow slipped away, swallowed by the forest. Her breath came fast. She pressed her palm to the glass, as if touch could confirm what she had seen. The night gave no answer. Evelyn told herself not to be foolish. The forest was filled with animals. Wolves had been sighted lately, their howls rising in the distance at odd hours. Perhaps that was all she had glimpsed in animals searching for prey. Yet a deeper part of her, a part she rarely listened to, whispered that what she had seen was no ordinary wolf. The clock ticked past midnight. Evelyn tried to return to her book, but the words blurred. Her mind replayed the glint of those eyes. She remembered stories her grandmother used to tell her when she was a child, tales of the old blood, of men who could shift into wolves, of alphas who ruled the night. She had laughed at them once. But now the memory wrapped cold fingers around her chest. She closed the book, blew out the candle, and climbed the narrow stairs to her room. The boards creaked under her feet as if warning her of each step. Her room was simpler: small bed, a chest of drawers, a faded quilt. She slipped beneath the covers and pulled them tight around her shoulders. The wind outside had picked up, moaning through the gaps in the window frame, carrying with it a sound that was not quite the howl of a wolf. It's not quite the cry of a man. Sleep came fitfully, and with sleep, the dream. In the dream, she was running through the forest barefoot, her white nightgown glowing like a ghost under the moon. The trees parted for her path, but behind her something chased something fast, something powerful. She felt it in the ground, in her bones, in the blood rushing through her veins. Then she was no longer running. She was standing in a clearing bathed in silver light. And he was there. A man, tall and broad-shouldered, with eyes the same golden fire she had seen at her window. He stood too close, close enough for her to feel his breath against her skin, close enough for her body to recognize him, though her mind did not know his name. "You can't escape me," he said. His voice was low, rough, both a promise and a threat. When she woke, her body was trembling. Her sheets were damp with sweat. The storm had broken at last, rain hammering the roof, lightning slicing the sky. But it was not the storm that made her heart race. It was the sound. Beneath the thunder, beneath the rain. There was a howl. Long, low, filled with something that was not hunger, but longing. She rose, bare feet touching the cold wooden floor, and walked to the window. Lightning split the sky again, white against black. And there, at the edge of the forest, stood a figure. Not beast, not man. Something between, its golden eyes locked with hers. And Evelyn knew, with a certainty that shook her to the core, that her life was no longer her own. Evelyn did not sleep again after that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw golden eyes burning through the trees. Her mind whispered that it had been only a dream, nothing more than a restless night fueled by storms and shadows. But her heart knew better. The image was too sharp, too real. In the morning, she tried to carry on as if nothing had happened. She baked bread, swept the floors, and watered her small patch of herbs outside. Yet even in the daylight, something felt wrong. The air seemed heavier, the silence stretched too long. Birds that usually filled the woods with song had vanished, leaving behind only the hollow rustle of branches. When she bent to cut rosemary, she froze. The earth was marked. Paws, far larger than any she had ever seen, pressed deep into the damp soil. The tracks circled her garden before vanishing into the trees. Evelyn's hands trembled, but she forced herself to stand tall. Wolves, she thought. It had to be wolves. But even as she whispered it, she knew those prints belonged to something more. At the market that afternoon, the atmosphere felt different too. The townspeople gathered in small clusters, their voices low, their eyes darting toward the forest. Evelyn heard fragments of their conversations as she passed. Another one gone. They say it's the curse. Tracks bigger than any hound I've seen. When she stepped up to buy flour, the shopkeeper, Mrs. Renly, leaned closer than usual. Her wrinkled hands gripped the counter as she whispered, "Don't go walking at night, child. And keep your windows locked." "There's something in those woods again." Evelyn nodded. Though her throat felt dry, Mrs. Renly had always been a superstitious woman, filling her shop with charms against evil. But this time, her warning did not sound like gossip. It sounded like fear. That evening, Evelyn sat by the window with her candle again, but her book lay unopened. She kept listening. The wind carried faint sounds, almost like voices. At first, she thought it was only the storm still shifting through the hills. But the longer she listened, the clearer it became. Whispers, soft, urgent. Her name, she pressed her hands over her ears. Yet the sound seemed to come from inside her, not outside. Evelyn. A voice, low and rough, brushed against her like breath against her skin. She leaped up, knocking the chair over, her heart hammering. The whisper stopped. The night fell silent again. When she dared to look back toward the window, she felt the same prickling sensation as before, the sense of being watched. But this time she refused to look. She grabbed her candle, hurried upstairs, and locked her bedroom door. Sleep did not come. Every creak of the house sounded louder. Every gust of wind against the walls felt like a knock. At some point in the night, she thought she heard scratching at the door below, slow and deliberate, as if claws dragged against the wood. She pulled the quilt over her head, closed her eyes, and prayed for dawn. The next day, Evelyn tried to bury herself in routine again. She walked into town to deliver bread to a neighbor, hoping the presence of others would ease her growing unease. On the way, she passed an old man sitting on the fence line, a stranger she had never seen before. His clothes were torn, his beard long and gray. And his eyes, though clouded, seemed to look straight into her soul. "You've been marked," he said suddenly. Evelyn froze. "I don't know what you mean," she whispered. The old man shook his head slowly. "He watches you. The Alpha. You cannot run from him." Before she could ask more, he turned away, muttering to himself, rocking back and forth as if lost in his own world. Evelyn walked quickly after that, her skin crawling, the words chasing her with every step. By late afternoon, a storm gathered again. The sky turned iron gray, and the wind pressed hard against the house. Evelyn lit her candle early, though her hands shook as she did. She could no longer ignore the changes in the air, the whispers, the warnings. Something hunted close, and her ordinary life was crumbling. That night she dreamed again, the forest, the clearing, the golden eyes. But this time the man was closer. His hand brushed her cheek, warm and rough, and she felt her whole body tremble under his touch. His voice came softer now, not a threat, but a vow. "You are mine." When she woke, the words still echoed inside her. Evelyn dressed quickly, restless, unable to stay still. She opened the door to let in the morning air. But when she stepped outside, her breath caught. On her porch, lying across the old wooden boards, was a single black feather dot. It gleamed wet in the light as though freshly fallen. But no bird had ever left something like this before. When she reached down to pick it up, the feather crumbled to ash in her fingers. Her heart stuttered. She looked up Dot, and there he was at the edge of the woods, watching the man from her dreams. He did not move. He only stood in the shadows, tall and broad, the glow of his golden eyes burning through the morning haze. For a moment, time froze. Evelyn could not breathe, could not think. The world around her fell away until there was only him and the silent claim in his gaze. Then, just as suddenly, he was gone. The forest swallowed him whole. Evelyn stumbled back inside, her hands pressed to her chest. She could no longer pretend this was her imagination. Something had entered her world, and it would not leave. Danger was coming closer. And deep down, though she tried to deny it, a part of her wasn't afraid at all. A part of her longed for him, still, as the candlelight flickered against the walls that night. Evelyn knew the truth. Longing or not, she was prey standing at the edge of a hunt. The whispers returned, louder now, curling through the cracks of the house. And this time, she swore she heard a low growl beneath them. Her world was breaking, and she had no idea how much darker it was about to become. The forest called to her. Evelyn told herself not to answer. But her body betrayed her. All morning she wandered the house like a restless ghost, unable to sit still. Her hands shook when she tried to sew. Her bread burned in the oven. And her mind kept slipping back to the shadow she had seen at the edge of the woods. The man who wasn't only a man, his golden eyes haunted her even in the daylight. She had dreamed of him again, the dream so vivid she could still feel the warmth of his hand on her cheek. A whisper, low and rough, "You are mine." She wanted to forget. She wanted to bury herself in the safe, ordinary world she had always known. But some force, whether madness, fate, or something older, pulled her toward the trees. By late afternoon, she could resist no longer. She wrapped her cloak around her shoulders, stepped outside, and walked straight into the forest. The air inside the woods was different, cooler, heavier. Every sound seemed sharper, the crack of twigs, the distant flutter of wings, the rush of her own heartbeat. The deeper she went, the more it felt like the forest was alive, watching her, waiting for her. She followed no path. Her feet moved without thought, guided by something beyond her control. And then, in a clearing washed with pale light, she stopped. He was there, tall, broad-shouldered. His dark clothes clung to him like shadows, his hair falling wild around a face too sharp to be ordinary. But it was his eyes that froze her in place, golden, burning, alive with something fierce and untamed. Evelyn's breath caught. She knew she should turn and run, but her body would not obey. His presence filled the clearing like fire fills air. Here's danger. He was wrong. And yet, she could not look away. For a long moment, neither spoke. He stood still, as though carved from stone, yet the air between them crackled as if lightning had struck. Then, slowly, he moved closer. Evelyn's legs should have carried her back, but instead she found herself rooted, her pulse loud in her ears. Every step he took made her chest tighten. "You came," he said at last. His voice was deep, rough, carrying the weight of something more than words. Evelyn swallowed hard. "Who are you?" His lips curved, not quite a smile. "The one you've been dreaming of." Her breath shivered. "That's not possible." "It is," he answered simply, as if stating a truth older than time. His eyes glowed brighter. "You felt it, didn't you?" "The pull." Evelyn shook her head, though she knew he was right. She had felt it's the invisible thread drawing her toward him. It's the way her chest ached when he looked at her, the fire under her skin. But admitting it would mean stepping into something she could never return from. "I don't even know your name," she whispered. "Damon," he said. The sound of it was like a key turning in a lock she hadn't known existed. Damon Blackwood. The name was familiar. Her grandmother had spoken it once in hushed tone stories of the Blackwood bloodline. Cursed alphas who ruled and destroyed with equal power. She had thought it only legend. Now the legend stood before her. "You shouldn't be here," Evelyn said, though her voice was soft, almost pleading. "And yet, here you are." Damon's gaze dropped briefly to her hands, trembling at her sides, then rose back to her face. "You came to me, I didn't." She stopped, unable to finish. Because it was true. She had walked into the forest. She had followed the call. Damon took another step closer. He was near enough now that she could see the faint scar cutting across his jaw, the rise and fall of his chest. The air around him carried the scent of pine and smoke, sharp and intoxicating. "You feel it too," he murmured. "The bond." The words sank into her like a stone dropped into deep water. Bond. Her. Grandmother's stories returned the sacred connection between wolves and their fated mates. The pull that could not be broken. Evelyn shook her head again, more desperate now. "This is wrong. You're dangerous. Everyone says, everyone fears what they don't understand." His voice cut through her panic, steady and commanding. "I am dangerous. Yes, but not to you." Her heart stuttered. She wanted to believe him, and that terrified her most of all. A sudden crack of a branch echoed through the clearing. Evelyn startled, spinning toward the sound. The shadows between the trees shifted, and for a moment she thought she saw movement, a darker figure watching, then vanishing into the woods. When she turned back, Damon was beside her. He had moved too fast, faster than any man should, yet he stood now as though he had always been there. His hand hovered inches from hers, close enough for her skin to feel its heat. But he did not touch. "You're not safe here alone," he said, his voice low. Evelyn tried to steady her breathing. "And I would be safer with you." Something flickered in his eyes, pain, longing, something she could not name. "You would be mine," he whispered. The words sent a shiver racing through her. She should have pulled away, but her body betrayed her again. For one reckless heartbeat, she wanted it. She wanted him. The air thickened, heavy with unspoken promises and forbidden fire. His hand lingered near hers, her fingers trembling as if they might close the gap on their own. The bond tugged at her, insistent, undeniable. But then Damon drew back, breaking the spell. His jaw tightened, his golden eyes shadowed. "Not yet," he said. "Not yet." Evelyn asked, breathless. He turned toward the trees, his body tense, listening as if the forest spoke only to him. "They're coming," he murmured. "Hunters, wolves, enemies. You don't know how fragile your world is, Evelyn. But you will." Before she could ask more, he stepped back into the shadows. The forest swallowed him whole, leaving only silence behind. Evelyn stood in the clearing alone, her heart racing, her hands still trembling. She touched the place where his hand had almost met hers. The skin there tingling with heat that had never reached her. She should have felt relief that he was gone. But instead she felt hollow, as though something vital had been ripped from her. Her mind screamed to forget him, to never walk into the woods again. But her body remembered his eyes, his voice, the invisible thread that had pulled her here. When she returned to the house, the world looked different. The walls felt thinner, the locks weaker, the silence more fragile. She sat by her window with the candle burning low, staring at the forest dot, and though Damon had vanished, she knew with aching certainty he would come again. And when he did, she might not have the strength to turn him away. The morning after her meeting with Damon, Evelyn tried to tell herself it had all been a dream. She told herself he wasn't real, that her mind had invented him out of fear and loneliness. If she repeated it enough, maybe she would believe it. She swept the kitchen. She needed bread. She drew water from the well. All the ordinary tasks of her small life. Yet none of them felt steady anymore. The world around her seemed thinner, as though one strong breath would tear it open and reveal something terrible beneath. It began with the dreams. That night she dreamed of fire in the woods, flames curling up the trunks of trees that did not burn. A dark figure stood in the center of it, golden eyes glowing through the smoke. She woke with a cry, her sheets damp with sweat, spell of smoke still clinging to her nose. She sat up in bed, clutching her chest. A dream, she told herself. Only a dream. But when she looked down, she saw a single black feather lying on the blanket beside her. Evelyn stared at it, her blood turning cold. She had no chickens. No birds had flown through her closed window. She picked up the feather, trembling, and tucked it into her drawer. The next day, the accidents began. The water bucket slipped from her hand, though her grip had been tight. It crashed to the ground, spilling across the kitchen floor. Later, when she was sewing, the needle pricked her finger so sharply that blood splattered across the fabric like spilled ink. She gasped, clutching her hand. Certain she had seen something flicker in the corner of her vision, a shadow, watching. She told herself she was only tired, but the feeling of being watched clung to her. By evening, she decided to go into town for company. She needed the noise of people, the comfort of voices, anything to remind her that she was part of the ordinary world. The market was busy, the air filled with the smell of bread and roasted meat. Women called out greetings, men loaded wagons. Children laughed as they chased each other between stalls. Evelyn forced a smile, tried to join in the small talk, but everywhere she turned, she saw him. Not clearly, only a glimpse of dark hair, the curve of a shoulder, the flicker of golden eyes in the crowd. Each time she blinked, he was gone. At one stall, an old woman caught Evelyn's hand suddenly. Her grip was thin but strong. Her eyes clouded with age, yet sharp as knives. "You've been marked," the woman whispered. Evelyn froze. "What?" The woman leaned closer, her breath hot against Evelyn's ear. "Stay out of the woods. Stay away from him, or you will be lost." Before Evelyn could reply, the woman released her hand and shuffled away, swallowed by the crowd. Evelyn's heart hammered. She wanted to chase after her, demand answers, but her legs felt too heavy. That night, the dreams returned. She stood in the forest again, the moon high above. This time she was not alone. Wolves circled her, their eyes glowing white in the dark. They did not attack, only paced around her, closer and closer as though waiting for a signal. Then Damon appeared. His figure cut through the circle, the wolves bowing their heads as he passed. He looked at her with those burning eyes and said only one word: "Choose." Evelyn woke with a scream, her throat raw, her body shaking. When she lit her candle, found fresh dirt on her feet and a trail of soil leading from the door to her bed. Her window was closed, the door locked. Still, she had walked. For the next 2 days, she fought against it. She stayed inside, locking her doors, praying, whispering to herself that she was not losing her mind. She baked bread and gave it to her neighbors. She mended clothes. She tried to drown her fear in chores. But the strange happenings followed. HERA plate slid from the shelf without being touched and shattered at her feet. The fire on the hearth flared so suddenly it nearly burned her skirt. Her reflection in the window moved a fraction slower than she did, each time. She told herself there was an explanation: wind, carelessness, tired eyes. But deep down she knew the line between her world and Damon's was breaking. On the third night, the danger became real. She was carrying wood to the house when she heard something in the trees. A rustle too heavy for a bird, too steady for the wind. She froze, clutching the logs to her chest. The sound came again, closer this time. A low growl followed, deep and guttural, curling through the darkness. Her breath hitched. A wolf stepped out from the trees. It was massive. larger than any she had ever seen, its fur black as midnight, its eyes pale and unblinking. It stared at her, lips pulling back to show sharp, gleaming teeth. Evelyn stumbled backward, the wood spilling from her arms. Her heart pounded, her body screaming to run. But her legs refused to move. The wolf lowered itself, ready to strike. And then he was there. Damon stepped from the shadows, his eyes blazing gold, his presence filling the night. He placed himself between her and the beast, his body tense. His voice a low command. "Leave her." The wolf growled, its gaze flickering between Damon and Evelyn. For one terrible moment, she thought it would attack anyway. But then it let out a sharp snarl and turned, vanishing into the forest. Silence fell heavy. Evelyn's knees gave way, and she sank to the ground, trembling. Damon turned to her, his face carved with something she could not read danger. "Fear, desire, you see now," he said softly. "There is no going back. The world you knew is gone. And if you stay blind to it, it will kill you." Evelyn met his eyes, her breath coming fast, her heart trapped between terror and longing. She knew he was right. The supernatural was no longer at the edge of her life. It was here, at her door, and she could not escape. After the night of the wolf, Evelyn could no longer pretend her life was ordinary. The memory of Damon standing between her and the beast burned in her mind. His voice, steady and commanding, had held the kind of power that could bend shadows. She tried to keep busy, tried to keep her distance, but his presence clung to her like a scent she couldn't wash away. Even when she was alone, she felt him near. And then one evening, he appeared again. She was carrying water from the well when she saw him leaning against the old oak near her cottage. His dark coat caught the fading light, and his golden eyes seemed to glow even brighter in the dusk. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered, her voice trembling. And yet Damon said, his lips curving into a faint smile, "Here I am." His calmness unnerved her. Every instinct told her to run, to hide, to slam the door and pray. But something stronger rooted her to the ground. "Why?" she asked. "Why do you follow me? Why did you stop that wolf?" He stepped closer, his movements fluid, almost too graceful. "Because you are not meant to face this alone." Her breath caught. His words were simple, but the way he spoke them like a vow. Like a claim sent a shiver down her spine. From that night on, Damon returned often. Sometimes he came to warn her. Sometimes only to watch the forest from her porch. But always they talked. Evelyn learned that he spoke with a strange rhythm, as though the world was both heavy and fragile to him. He rarely laughed, but when he did, it was low and rough, as if laughter wasn't something he had used in years. She asked him where he came from. He told her only, "Far from here." She asked what he wanted. He looked at her for a long moment before answering, "To keep you alive." She knew she should not press further, but every word drew her closer. One night, while the wind rattled the shutters, she asked, "Why me? Why not someone else?" He leaned forward, his eyes locking with hers. "Because you are marked, Evelyn, and because I cannot stay away." The silence that followed was heavy, charged. She felt the weight of his gaze like a touch. She should have broken it. Instead, she whispered, "I feel it too." Her cheeks burned at the confession, but Damon did not mock her. His expression softened something rare and dangerous in him. "You should not," he said, almost to himself. "It will only hurt you." Yet he did not leave. Their bond grew in the small things. When she tripped on a loose stone, his hand caught her wrist before she could fall. The strength of his grip startled her, but the warmth of it lingered long after he released her. When she struggled with the heavy water pail, he lifted it as though it weighed nothing. She watched the flex of his hand, the sharp line of his jaw, and felt her heart twist in ways she couldn't name. Sometimes she caught him watching her when he thought she wouldn't notice. His eyes held a hunger, not just for her, but for something deeper, something he seemed to fight against. And though fear still pulsed through her veins, another feeling grew stronger. A pull, a longing. The villagers noticed her distraction. "You look pale," her neighbor said. Are you ill? Asked another. Evelyn forced smiles, shook her head, told them she was fine. But inside, she knew she was changing. The world she had known was fading, replaced by one where shadows whispered and golden eyes haunted her nights. One evening, after a long silence, Damon asked, "Do you trust me?" Evelyn hesitated. Her heart screamed yes, but her mind warned her of danger. "I don't know," she whispered. "That is wise," he said. Yet there was a flicker of pain in his voice, as though he wished for a different answer. "Then why do you stay?" she asked. He looked away, his jaw tightening. "Because leaving you would be harder than fighting every enemy in these woods." Her chest ached at his words, forbidden or not. There was truth in them. But the night that broke her last wall came days later. The sky was storm dark, the wind carrying the sharp scent of rain. Evelyn sat inside by the fire, trying to steady her restless heart. When she felt it again, that presence at the edge of her thoughts, she opened the door. He was there, standing in the rain, his hair damp, his eyes burning brighter than the lightning behind him. "You'll get sick," she whispered. "Don't fall ill," he said. She should have turned him away, but instead she stepped aside. He entered, water dripping from his coat. The firelight caught his features, and for a moment he seemed both human and something far more. They sat together in silence. The storm howled outside, but inside, the air was thick with tension. Evelyn felt her pulse quicken each time their eyes met. Finally, she spoke. "I'm afraid I know," Damon said softly. "But fear will not save you now." His hand brushed against hers only for a moment. But it was enough to send a rush through her veins. She wanted to pull away, but instead her fingers lingered. "Damon," she whispered, her voice breaking. "What are you?" For the first time, his face changed, not calm, not guarded, but fierce, as if she had touched a wound. He opened his mouth to answer, but a noise outside cut him short. They rushed to the door. At the edge of the clearing stood 3 wolves, their fur bristling, their eyes glowing unnaturally in the dark. They did not move closer, only watched, waiting. Evelyn's breath caught, but Damon's body tensed, his jaw clenched. She turned to him. Hand froze. His eyes were no longer golden. They glowed like fire, brighter than the wolves, burning with a light that was not human. In that moment, she knew the truth. Damon was not her savior. He was one of them. The sight of Damon's eyes glowing in the dark rooted Evelyn to the ground. The fire in them was not human. It was wild, untamed, dangerous. She stumbled back, her hand gripping the wooden doorframe. What are you?" The words barely left her lips, but they carried all the fear twisting in her chest. Damon did not answer at once. His gaze flicked toward the wolves watching from the clearing. Their eyes glowed faintly, but compared to his, they seemed dim, almost submissive. The creatures lowered their heads, whining softly, before melting back into the shadows of the forest. Only when the last one disappeared did Damon turn back to her. His eyes dimmed again, settling into their golden glow. But she could not forget what she had seen. "You shouldn't have witnessed that," he said quietly. His voice was not cruel, but there was a weight in it that pressed against her ribs. Evelyn shook her head. "You can't hide it anymore. I saw what you are." His jaw tightened. "You saw only a piece. You would not survive the whole truth." The storm outside beat harder against the cottage. Thunder rolled across the sky, shaking the walls. But the greater storm was inside Evelyn. She wanted to scream, to demand answers. At the same time, something in her refused to let him go. Damon had saved her life, stood between her and monsters. And yet he might be one himself. Her voice cracked. "Are you like them? Like the wolves?" Damon stepped closer, rain dripping from his coat, his presence filling the room. His face was fierce, but his eyes held a sorrow that unsettled her even more than his strength. "No," he said. Then, after a pause, and yes, Evelyn's breath caught. "I lead them," he admitted. "But I am not only what they are. I am more and less." His words tangled her thoughts. She wanted clarity, But he gave her riddles. "Why me?" she whispered. "Why do they follow you here? To me?" Damon's gaze softened, though it did not ease her fear. "Because they know you are mine." Her heart lurched. "Yours." He flinched as though realizing he had said too much. His hand brushed through his dark hair, his jaw tense. "You don't understand? You carry a mark. One older than both of us. I should have stayed away, but fate has other plans." Evelyn shook her head, anger breaking through her fear. "You talk of fate, of marks, of choices I never made. But I never asked for any of this." Her voice rose, sharper than she meant. But Damon didn't recoil. He stood still, watching her with a look that made her chest ache. "No," he said softly, "you didn't, and still it chose you." The fire in the hearth cracked loudly, making her jump. The shadows on the walls seemed to lean closer, listening. Evelyn pressed her hand to her mouth, trying to steady her breathing. She wanted to run from him, to lock herself away where his golden eyes could never reach her again. Yet some part of her longed to step closer, to ask him everything he held back. Damon must have seen the war inside her. He took a slow step back, giving her space. "Fear me if you must," he said. "But do not forget Div stood between you and death." She clenched her fists. "And if you are, death." For a moment, silence hung between them. Then he smiled, not kindly, but bitterly. "Then I will be the death that spares you from worse." That night, sleep refused to touch Evelyn. She lay awake, listening to the storm fade, her mind racing. His words circled in her head like restless crows. "You are mine. You are marked. Fate has other plans." When dawn broke, she searched her skin in the mirror, half expecting to find a scar or a sign. She found nothing. And yet the memory of the feather, the dirt on her feet, the wolves at her door, everything pointed to the truth. She was bound to Damon, in ways she could neither see nor understand later. She went to the well for water, hoping fresh air might calm her thoughts. The village children were nearby, laughing and chasing each other. For a moment she envied their innocence, their freedom from shadows. But then she noticed one of the boys staring at her. His laughter faded, and he whispered something to his sister. The girl's face paled, and she pulled him away. Eyes darting toward the woods, Evelyn felt the old woman's words echo. "You've been marked." The villagers knew, or at least they sensed, and they feared it. That evening Damon returned. His arrival was like the shift of wind before a storm sudden, heavy, impossible to ignore. "You've been avoiding me," he said. His tone was calm, but there was tension beneath it. "You frighten me," she admitted, her voice trembling. "You speak of marks and fate, of wolves that obey you. How can I not fear you?" For the first time, pain crossed his face, raw and unhidden. "I never wished to be feared by you." He reached out, then stopped himself, his hand hanging between them. "But fear is safer than trust." Evelyn's heart twisted. Part of her wanted to take his hand, to banish the loneliness she saw in his eyes. But another part screamed at her to pull back, to remember the danger in his blood. "I don't know what to believe," she whispered. He closed his eyes, his jaw tight, as though her words cut deeper than any blade. Then, as if to test her wavering trust, it happened. Through the window, Evelyn caught sight of movement, two wolves slipping out of the trees. They prowled closer to her home, their eyes fixed on the cottage. Panic seized her, but when she turned to Damon, she froze. He wasn't surprised. He didn't move to protect her. Instead, he watched them with the calm of a man greeting old companions. His lips moved silently, as though speaking words she could not hear. The wolves halted, heads bowing low, before fading back into the forest. Evelyn's blood ran cold. She turned to him slowly. You command them." Damon met her gaze, unflinching. "I warned you. I am not what you think." Her body trembled, not just with fear, but with the sharp stab of betrayal. All this time, she had believed he fought them, that he was her shield. But what if he was only holding back his own pack? Evelyn could not forget what she had seen. Damon commanding the wolves as if they were his soldiers. the loyalty in their eyes. The way they bowed their heads, it was not the mark of enemies. It was the mark of a leader. For days, she avoided him. She locked her door, stayed close to the village, and forced herself to focus on chores. But she could not lock away her thoughts. Each time she closed her eyes, she saw his face, his sorrow, his fire, his voice saying she was marked. Fear told her to run. But something deeper, something older, pulled her back toward him. One evening, while the sun sank low, Evelyn gathered herbs near the edge of the forest. She kept her basket close, her eyes scanning the trees. The shadows seemed to breathe with her, alive and waiting. Evelyn, her heart jumped. She turned, and there he was, Damon, stepping out from the dark. His coat brushed the grass, his golden eyes steady on her. "I told you to stay away," she said quickly, though her voice wavered. "And yet you're here," he answered. His tone was not cruel, only certain. "You may deny it, but the bond grows whether you wish it or not." She clutched her basket tighter. "I don't want this." "Yes, you do." His words cut through her defenses. "You feel it as I do. It binds us both. Denial will not change it." Evelyn wanted to argue, but her body betrayed her, her pulse quickened, her breath came shallow. Her heart ached with truth she couldn't admit aloud. That night, she dreamed again. The forest stretched around her, silent and endless. Damon stood at the center, wolves at his back. He reached out his hand. "Come with me." His voice whispered not aloud. But inside her mind, she woke with tears on her cheeks and a longing that refused to fade. But danger was closing in. The villagers had begun to whisper. They noticed her pale skin, her distracted looks, the way she lingered near the woods. Mothers pulled their children away when she passed. Men exchanged uneasy glances, muttering under their breath. "She's marked," one said when he thought she couldn't hear. "The Alpha's eye is on her." Her chest tightened. If they knew more, if they discovered Damon's truth, they would not spare her. The village feared wolves more than fire. The fear was proven won. Evening, when two strangers arrived. Hunters, they came on horseback, their faces hard, their cloaks lined with silver charms. Evelyn saw them in the market, speaking with the villagers, their voices low but sharp. The way they scanned the forest told her everything. They had come for Damon that night. Damon appeared at her door without a sound. She should have sent him away, but when she opened the door, her breath caught at the sight of him. He looked more worn than before, shadows under his eyes, his jaw tight. "They've come," he said. Evelyn swallowed hard. "Hunters." He nodded. "They will not rest until I am gone or dead." Her fear flared. Not only for him, but for herself. If the hunters found out she had spoken to him, sheltered him, even stood near him, they would not forgive her. "Then you must leave," she whispered. "Go before they know." His voice was sharp, final. "If I leave, they will turn on you. You are already tied to me. You would pay the price in my place." Her heart pounded. "Then what do we do?" Damon's gaze softened, though the fire in his eyes never dimmed. "We endure. Together." For the first time, Evelyn let him stay inside her home. He sat by the fire, silent, while she tried to steady her hands as she worked with herbs. The room felt smaller with him in it, every breath filled with his presence. When she dropped a jar and knelt to gather the pieces, his hand reached out, covering hers. For a heartbeat, they stayed frozen, her skin against his. The warmth of him seeping into her. Evelyn looked up, and their eyes met. The world seemed to fall silent. "You should not be near me," Damon said. But his hand did not move. "Then let go," she whispered. He didn't. Days passed, and with each one the danger grew. Evelyn saw the hunters at the edge of the forest, setting traps, speaking to frightened villagers. Each night Damon returned, and each night the bond between them deepened. They spoke of small things, her garden, the stars, the memories she had of her childhood. But in the pauses, in the silences, something heavier always lingered. "Do you regret it?" she asked one evening. "What?" "Being what you are." Damon's jaw tightened. He stared into the fire. Every day. And yet, without it, I would never have found you. Her breath caught. Words she wanted to say pressed at her lips. But she swallowed them down. The danger struck sooner than she expected. Evelyn was gathering water at dawn when she heard shouts in the distance. The hunters were in the woods. Dogs barked, men shouted, steel clashed against stone. She dropped her pail and ran back to her cottage. And there waiting in the shadows was Damon. His clothes were torn, blood staining his sleeve, his chest heaving. "They've found me," he said, his voice low but urgent. "I cannot run forever. Sooner or later they will reach this place." Evelyn's fear surged. She should turn him away, save herself, let him face his fate. But the thought of him gone carved pain deeper than fear itself. "What do you want from me?" she asked, trembling. His eyes burned into hers, fierce and desperate. "Only what destiny already demands." He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. "But it is you who must decide. Will you turn from me and watch them tear me apart? Or will you stand at my side, knowing it may destroy you?" Evelyn's heart pounded, her body frozen between terror and longing. The hunter's shouts echoed through the trees. Growing closer, she looked at Damon's fire, his sorrow, his unshakable pull, and she knew she had no more time. She had to choose. The hunter's shouts echoed through the forest, sharp and urgent. Evelyn's breath caught as she stood before Damon, his golden eyes burning into hers. She wanted to choose him to stand at his side, but fear held her still. And then, before she could speak, he whispered, "There is more you must know. Before you decide, you must learn the truth of who you are." Her heart trembled. The truth. Damon nodded, his jaw tight. "The bond between us is not chance. It is written, Evelyn. Written long before you drew your first breath." She shook her head. "No, I'm no one. Just a girl from this village." But even as she said the words, a memory stirred her mother's face. Pale and tired, whispering things Evelyn never understood when she was a child. Strange words, lullabies that were not from the village tongue. Prayers spoken in the dead of night when she thought Evelyn was asleep. "Your blood is not only human," Damon said softly, as if afraid to break her. "You are tied to us." To me, the hunters' voices drew closer, but Damon pulled her toward the woods. "Not here. They cannot hear this. Follow me." She wanted to resist, but something stronger than fear made her feet move. She ran with him into the trees, branches clawing at her arms, her breath sharp. At last, they stopped at a circle of stones, old and cracked, half buried in moss. The air felt heavy there, almost alive. "What is this place?" she whispered. "A place your ancestors built," Damon answered. "Long ago, when humans and wolves lived as one." Evelyn froze. "That can't be true." "It is," he said. "Your family carries their mark. Do you know why the villagers never speak of your mother's kin? Why no one dares tell you where she came from?" Evelyn's chest tightened. She had asked many times as a child. Each time her mother would only smile faintly and say, "The past is gone, Evelyn. Do not dig it up." But the way her eyes glistened always betrayed her. "My mother," Evelyn whispered. She knew. Damon stepped closer, his voice low. "She was one of us, a daughter of the old bloodline. She left the pack when she fell in love with your father, a human. They cast her out, but her blood lived on. In you, the ground beneath Evelyn seemed to shift." "No," she said weakly, clutching her chest. "If that's true, then why didn't she tell me?" "Because the truth would have cursed you," Damon said. "If the pack knew of your existence, they would have claimed you. Or destroyed you." Evelyn's head spun. Her hands trembled as she touched the stones around them, ancient symbols carved deep in their surfaces. She didn't recognize them. But a strange warmth stirred under her skin when her fingers traced the lines. Suddenly, Damon grasped her wrist. His touch was urgent, almost desperate. "Listen to me. This is why the bond between us is unbreakable. It is not only destiny, it is blood. You are tied to the Alpha's line." To me, her voice shook. "But that means I'm part of this world. A world I never asked for. Yes, Damon whispered. And no matter what you choose, you cannot escape it now. The forest seemed to hold its breath. A howl rang in the distance, long and haunting. And Damon's eyes flickered with recognition. They are coming, he muttered. Not the hunters. Wolves. Evelyn's heart raced. Your wolves. He shook his head. No rivals. Another pack. They have learned of you. They know what you are, what I am. Evelyn repeated, her voice hollow. The words felt like a weight in her mouth. She wasn't just Evelyn, the girl from the village. She was something else, something that belonged to both worlds and neither. As the wind rose, carrying the sound of more howls, Evelyn felt her body grow heavy. A strange warmth spread through her chest, into her arms, her fingertips. She stumbled, clutching one of the stones. Evelyn, Damon said sharply, his hand catching her. What's happening? I don't know, she gasped. Her skin burned, her heart thundered. Her vision blurred, and for a moment, she thought she saw shapes wolves carved in fire across the stones, glowing as if alive. Damon's face hardened. It begins. What begins? She cried. The awakening of your blood. Her knees buckled and Damon lowered her to the ground. The stones glowed faintly around them, old power stirring as if called to her. Whispers filled the air, not from Damon, not from the forest, but from within her own head. Words in a language she didn't know, yet somehow understood. The child of two worlds. The bridge. The curse. The savior. She clutched her ears, trembling. Make it stop. I can't, Damon said, his voice rough. This is who you are. Her tears burned as they fell. She wanted to scream, to run, to deny every word, but deep inside, a piece of her recognized the truth. Her mother's prayers, her restless dreams, the way the forest always seemed to watch her. She was not just Evelyn. She was part of the prophecy whispered through the packs for generations, the one who would either unite them or bring their ruin. When the whispers faded, Evelyn lay shaking in Damon's arms. Her heart still pounded, but the burning inside her had quieted, leaving her cold. Why me? She whispered. Because you were chosen before birth. Damon said softly. Because your blood carries both light and shadow. She looked up at him, fear and anger and sorrow tangled in her eyes. You knew. All this time, you knew. His jaw tightened. I suspected. The bond between us proved it. She pulled away, her hands shaking. And you didn't tell me? You let me stumble in the dark while everyone else knew more about me than I did. Evelyn, don't, she said sharply, her voice breaking, for the first time. Anger replaced fear inside her. The forest went silent. Damon stiffened, his eyes snapping to the trees. Evelyn turned, her breath catching. At the edge of the stone stood a figure cloaked in black. The hood fell back, and Evelyn's world shattered. It was her mother, pale, alive, and watching with eyes that glowed faintly gold. Evelyn, she said, her voice calm, almost sad. It is time you knew the truth. I never died. I was taken back to the pack. Evelyn's knees went weak. No, that's not possible. I buried you. I buried you. Her mother stepped closer, her gaze steady. You buried a body, but not mine. The ground seemed to tilt beneath Evelyn's feet. If her mother lived, if her mother had been part of this world all along, then everything she believed about her past, her grief, her identity, was a lie. She was not just marked, she was born for this. The storm of truth still swirled inside Evelyn as she stared at her mother. The woman she thought dead now stood alive, cloaked in secrets, her golden eyes glowing faintly under the moonlight. Damon's jaw tightened, his hand tense at his side. Evelyn's lips trembled. How? How can this be? Her mother stepped closer. Rain slid off her cloak, shining like silver threads. I was never gone, Evelyn. I was taken back to the pack, found by laws stronger than death. You let me believe you were dead, Evelyn whispered, voice cracking. You let me bury you. Pain flickered in her mother's eyes, but she did not deny it. It was the only way to protect you. If you thought I lived, you would have searched for me. And they would have found you too soon." Damon growled low, stepping slightly in front of Evelyn. "You should have told her the truth." Keeping her blind only made her easier prey. Her mother's gaze hardened. And Eualpha's son should not have come near her at all. She was not ready. You know what the prophecy says? The air snapped tight between them, a silent battle of wills. Evelyn's heart hammered as she looked from one to the other, unable to breathe. Before more words could be spoken, a howl split the night. Not Damon's pack, this was sharper, hungrier. The rival wolves had come. Branches snapped. The sound of paws striking earth grew closer, and glowing eyes lit the tree line. Dozens of them. Evelyn's mother turned sharply. "They've tracked you here. Evelyn, stay behind me." But Damon stepped forward, his body shifting as power rolled off him. "No, they've come for her. That makes this my fight." His bones cracked as his form began to change, broad shoulders twisting, claws tearing through his skin, fur bursting in black waves. Evelyn staggered back, her breath sharp, both terrified and unable to look away. This was Damon revealed, not just man, not just beast, but something greater. The rival wolves burst from the shadows. Teeth gleamed, eyes glowed red and silver. They circled fast, surrounding the stone circle. Evelyn clutched one of the carved stones for balance, her whole body trembling. She wanted to scream, but the sound locked inside her throat. The first wolf lunged. Damon met it midair, his massive form crashing down with a snarl that shook the ground. Claws raked, teeth snapped, and blood sprayed across the moss. Daughter-mother shifted too, her cloak shredding as golden fur rippled over her body. She leaped, fierce and fluid, striking another attacker before it reached Evelyn. It was chaos. Wolves clashed, snarls and cries filling the night. Evelyn stumbled, trying to keep out of reach. But the circle grew smaller as the rivals pressed in. Then one broke through. A silver-eyed wolf lunged straight for her. Faster than she could run, Evelyn raised her arms, bracing for the end. But Damon slammed into it, knocking it aside. His claws tore. His teeth sank deep. But in that instant, Evelyn saw blood pour down his shoulder, staining his dark fur. "Damon," she cried, voice cracking. His golden eyes flicked to her, fierce with both pain and promise. "Stay alive." They seemed to say. More wolves surged. Her mother fought with desperate strength. But even Evelyn could see there were too many. Damon staggered under another strike, his shoulder torn open, his movements slowing. Fear clawed Evelyn's chest. She could not stand still. She could not just watch him fall. Something stirred in her blood again, the same heat she had felt at the stones before. Her vision blurred. The carvings around her seemed to glow, faint but steady, like they were answering her heartbeat. She reached out, pressing her hand to one. The earth shook. The rival wolves froze for half a breath as light burst from the stones, a pale circle wrapping around Evelyn like fire. It was not strong, but enough to make them hesitate. Damon snarled, using the moment to strike again, tearing one wolf down. Her mother shouted in a voice not fully human, "Evelyn, stop. You don't know what you're calling." But the power burned through Evelyn's veins, wild and unstoppable. For a moment, it was not fear she felt, but rage. Rage that they wanted to take her life, her choice, her bond with Damon. Rage that she had been kept in the dark for so long. The glow flared brighter, and then it snapped. The stones went dark. Evelyn collapsed to her knees, gasping as the warmth fled her body. The rival wolves shook off their fear and closed in again. This time, one reached Damon's side and slashed deep into his chest. He staggered, fell to one knee. "Damon." Evelyn screamed, her voice breaking. Blood soaked the ground beneath him. His golden eyes dimmed, yet still he tried to rise. Another rival wolf leaped toward him, teeth bared for the kill. Her mother moved fast. But Evelyn saw it too. Clearly she would not be in time, and Evelyn could do nothing. The scene burned into her eyes. Damon, wounded and kneeling, the wolf flying at him. the night filled with the sound of snarls and screams. Evelyn's hands shook against the earth, her nails digging into the moss. She had never felt so powerless. She had never felt so desperate. And as the rival wolf descended, teeth inches from Damon's throat, Evelyn screamed, not in fear this time, but with something raw, something ancient that tore from her very soul. The night split open with her cry, and every wolf froze. Her body burned as light flickered across her skin again, brighter than before, pulsing from her chest. Damon's head lifted, his golden eyes widening as if he saw something he could not believe. The rival wolves trembled, their ears pressed flat, some even backing away. The forest itself seemed to hold still. Evelyn's breath came in shallow bursts, her hands shaking. She didn't understand what she had done, but she saw the truth in their eyes. They recognized her, not as prey, not as a girl, but as something far more dangerous. The rival wolf that had leaped for Damon whimpered, dropping to the ground instead of striking, and then, as if obeying an unspoken command, the pack began to retreat into the shadows one by one, until their glowing eyes vanished from the trees. Silence fell, heavy and eerie. Evelyn's chest heaved, her vision swimming. Damon collapsed onto his side, blood dark against his fur. Her mother shifted back, breathing hard, her face pale and strained. She looked at Evelyn with both awe and fear. "What have you done?" Evelyn shook her head, her voice faint. "I don't know." But even as the words left her lips, she felt it. Deep inside, she had called them, commanded them, and they had obeyed. Her blood was not just cursed, it was powerful, and now every wolf friend or enemy would know it. Evelyn's heart pounded so hard she thought it might burst. Damon lay on the ground, blood soaking his fur, his golden eyes dimmed with pain. Her mother knelt beside him, hands pressed to his chest, murmuring words Evelyn did not understand. The forest was silent now, but silence only made the tension sharper. She had felt her power awaken, seen the rival wolves retreat, yet nothing could prepare her for what came next. A low, rumbling growl echoed from the trees, deeper and darker than any she had heard before. It was not a wolf she recognized, not Damon's pack, not the rival pack she had fought. This was something older, crueler, and closer. Her mother's eyes widened. "They've arrived. The council has come for her." Evelyn's stomach twisted. "Council. The elders," her mother said, rising. Her cloak flickered, golden fur shifting over her shoulders. "They rule all the packs, and they will not allow a half-blood like you to live unchecked. Not with that power. Power." The word echoed in Evelyn's mind. She had felt it for the first time tonight, raw and terrifying. The ability to command or destroy, but at what cost? Before she could ask, shapes moved through the trees. Figures cloaked in black, eyes glowing like embers. They were silent, methodical, circling her. Damon. Her mother. Damon tried to rise, but the wound in his chest made him stumble. Evelyn rushed to him, pressing her hands against him. "Stay with me," she pleaded. "I'm fine," he whispered, though his voice was weak. "No time to waste." He looked at her with fire in his eyes, despite the blood. "You must decide, Evelyn. Now." She swallowed hard. "Decide what?" "To use your power. Or deny it." Evelyn's hands trembled. Deny it, and she could save herself. But Damon might die. Embrace it, and she could fight but risk everything she knew, everyone she loved. The elders moved closer. One stepped into the clearing, a massive wolf-like figure shifting into a humanoid form mid-step. His eyes were silver, cold, and piercing. "Evelyn of the bloodline," he said, voice like steel, echoing in the clearing. "You have broken the natural order. Half-bloods are forbidden. Step aside or face the consequences." Evelyn's pulse raced. Step aside. Let Damon die. Let the wolves kill them all. Her power thrummed beneath her skin, begging her to act. I won't step aside," she said, voice shaking but firm. Damon's lips curved in a faint, proud smile. "Good," he whispered. Her mother's face hardened. Evelyn, you do not understand the risk. If you unleash your power fully, the pack may turn on you. Even Damon, I don't care, Evelyn shouted, breaking free of fear for a moment. I won't let them take him. I won't. Her hands glowed with pale light. The carvings in the stone circle pulsed faintly, echoing the energy in her veins. The elders froze, and even Damon blinked, astonished. But the glow also trembled unstable, dangerous. She could feel it pulling, demanding control she did not fully possess. The first elder lunged. Evelyn's hands shot out instinctively. A wave of energy slammed into him, sending him tumbling backward into the trees. He roared in fury, silver eyes blazing. The other elders attacked at once. Damon rose beside her, his golden eyes now fully alert, claws extended. He moved with lethal precision, but Evelyn saw the strain in him. Each movement took more from his strength, more from his life. She reached out with her mind, calling the energy she barely understood. Wolves howled in the distance. Those who had obeyed her before now emerging from the forest, their fur gleaming silver and black. They charged at the elders, teeth bared, following her silent command. Yet the elders were stronger, faster, almost inhuman. One struck Damon with a silver-tipped claw, sending him crashing to the ground again. Evelyn screamed, panic overtaking her focus. "Stay with me," she cried. Her mother stepped forward, blocking an elder strike. And Evelyn realized the impossible. She was surrounded. Power thrummed beneath her skin, but she could not control it fully. Each second she hesitated, Damon bled, the elders advanced, and her friends the wolves were caught in the crossfire. Then the impossible happened. One elder lunged at Evelyn herself, eyes cold and unyielding. She raised her hands, ready to defend, and the energy flared uncontrollably. A shock wave rippled through the clearing, knocking trees over and scattering the combatants. Wolves yelped, Damon groaned in pain, and the elders hissed in shock. The power surged, almost unmanageable. Evelyn could feel herself splitting, losing control, but she could not stop. Her love for Damon, her desire to protect him, drove her forward. The elder froze mid-lep, silver eyes wide with terror, as if recognizing the force within her. And then, just as suddenly, the energy pulled back, leaving Evelyn gasping, her hands shaking. But the elder still standing unharmed, glaring at her. Damon crawled to her side, blood staining his fur. "You're stronger than I thought," he said, voice ragged. "But it's not enough. They will not give up." Her mother's face was pale, drawn. "You've only shown them a taste. They know now. They will come again. And next time they will bring everything they have." Evelyn shook, feeling the weight of it. She could not deny it anymore. She was part of this world, part of the prophecy, and yet the cost was too high. Damon could die. Wolves could die. And if she lost control again, she might become the very thing she feared. She looked at him, his golden eyes steady despite the blood, despite the exhaustion. She whispered, voice trembling. "I don't know if I can do this." Damon reached for her, pain etched across his face. "Yes, you can, and you must. There is no other choice." But before she could act, a shadow darted from the trees behind her. Fast, silent, deadly. She barely had time to turn, only to see her mother scream as a silver blade struck her shoulder, sending her crashing to the ground. Evelyn's blood ran cold. Her mother, the only protector she had left, was down. Damon roared in fury, springing forward with a feral speed she had never seen. The elders took advantage of the chaos, surrounding Evelyn on all sides. She backed against a fallen tree, heart hammering, power thrumming uncontrollably. Her mind spun. She could strike. She could fight. But if she failed, Damon, her mother, the wolves, herself, none of them would survive. And in that instant, she realized the impossible choice. Use her full power, risking everything, including Damon's life, and challenge the elders head-on. Or retreat. Deny her power for now, and possibly save herself. but leave Damon and her mother in mortal danger. Her hands glowed again, energy thrumming like a living thing. She could feel it calling, demanding. Her heart ached, torn between fear and love, truth and denial. Damon's eyes locked with hers. "It's your choice," he whispered. "But whatever you decide, it will define both our fates." The elders advanced. Wolves snarled around her, her mother groaned in pain, and Evelyn froze. Caught between destiny and survival, love and fear, truth and denial. A single, final thought thundered in her mind. Choose. Before it's too late, the chapter ends there. With Evelyn poised on the edge of a decision that could destroy everything or save it, the forest seemed to hold its breath. Rain fell in jagged sheets, soaking the earth and turning it to mud beneath Evelyn's trembling feet. Her hands glowed faintly, energy thrumming through her veins like a living thing. She could feel Damon behind her, wounded but alive, his golden eyes tracking her every move. Her mother lay crumpled nearby, blood staining her fur, groaning in pain. The elders had circled them, their silver eyes cold, unyielding. Every instinct in Evelyn screamed to run. But she could not when everything she loved depended on her. "You cannot fight this alone," one of the elders hissed. "Step aside, half-blood. And perhaps we will spare what remains of your pack." Evelyn's chest heaved. Half-blood. That word had haunted her since she first learned the truth. Now it was a weapon, a curse, a mark of both power and danger. She looked at Damon, struggling to rise, bleeding, but still holding his ground. His eyes locked with hers. "You are stronger than you know," he whispered. "Do not fear it. Do not run from who you are." Her fear warred with her love. She did not want to lose him. She did not want to hurt anyone else. And yet the energy inside her untamed. Furious would not be denied. The first elder lunged, silver claws flashing in the rain. Evelyn barely had time to react. She threw her hands forward instinctively. A wave of energy erupted from her, a shield of glowing light that slammed into the elder and sent him crashing into a tree. The other elders hesitated, their surprise giving Damon enough space to spring forward. He struck with lethal precision, claws ripping through armor and fur alike, but each movement drained him. His golden eyes were fierce, but exhaustion shadowed them. "Evelyn," he called, dodging another strike. "Focus. I am," she shouted, though her voice trembled. Her hands flared again, this time shaping energy into a thin barrier around both her and her mother. The elders struck against it, testing its strength. But one elder was cleverer, faster, and stronger. He broke through the barrier with a single brutal strike. Evelyn screamed as the energy backfired, burning her hands, leaving her momentarily dazed. Damon lunged, intercepting the blow and taking it himself. He roared in pain, blood sprang from a deep slash across his side. Evelyn's heart leaped into her throat. "No," she cried. Her mother groaned, struggling to rise. "Evelyn, you must." But Evelyn had no time to think. Fear, rage, and love surged together inside her. The energy coursing through her erupted uncontrolled, tearing through the clearing like wildfire. Trees splintered, mud flew in waves, and the elders were thrown off their feet. Wolves screamed, circling in fear and awe. And then Evelyn saw it, the ultimate enemy, the lead elder. Larger than the rest, his silver eyes glowing brighter than the storm, stepped forward. His form shifted from humanoid to monstrous wolf, fangs bared, claws gleaming. His power radiated like a dark sun, filling the clearing with pure menace. "You think your half-blood tricks can stop me?" he hissed. "You are nothing." Evelyn's knees shook. He was everything she feared, the absolute embodiment of danger. And yet Damon, bleeding and fierce, still stood at her side, claws ready. "You are not alone," Damon growled. "We fight together." The battle erupted. Evelyn threw herself into it, energy spiraling outward in waves, throwing elders backward, scattering wolves, and shaking the earth. The monstrous elder lunged at Damon. He dodged, but the force knocked him to his knees. Evelyn screamed, sending another surge of energy at the elder. Pain lanced through her hands. The more she used her power, the more it burned her. Her mother groaned, trying to rise, weak but still protective. Evelyn realized the truth. She could not hold back. To protect Damon, to protect everyone, she had to risk herself. The lead elder lunged again. Damon intercepted, taking a savage blow to his side. He fell, struggling to rise. Evelyn's chest tightened with terror, and then the impossible happened. The energy inside her reacted to her love, her fear, her rage. It exploded outward, shaping itself into a figure, her mother and Damon encased in a protective cocoon of glowing light. Wolves froze in awe. The elders staggered back, shielded by the power of her blood. It was the height of her strength. But she felt herself tearing apart from it. Every nerve, every muscle, every heartbeat was stretched to the limit. She screamed, pouring everything into the energy, love, fear, rage, destiny. The lead elder roared, the force of his power colliding with hers. Lightning struck, rain pounded, the ground quaked. For a heartbeat, it seemed neither would prevail. And then Evelyn remembered something Damon had whispered earlier. Trust yourself. Trust your bond. With every ounce of will, she focused on Damon's eyes, on her mother's hands, on the wolves circling, alive and loyal. She called the energy inward, shaping it, controlling it, until it became a lance of light that pierced the heart of the lead elder. He howled in fury, silver eyes wide with disbelief, before collapsing to the ground, his monstrous form dissolving into shadows. The remaining elders fled, unwilling to face such power. The storm began to ease. Rain softened. Wolves approached cautiously, eyes gleaming with respect and fear. Damon fell to his side, bloodied but alive. Evelyn ran to him, pressing her hands to his chest. "I did it," she whispered, voice trembling. Damon smiled faintly, blood streaking his fur. "No, you didn't. We did it. Together." Her mother staggered forward, golden fur damp with rain, her hand brushing Evelyn's shoulder. "You've grown beyond what I could have imagined," she said softly. "But beware. Power like yours comes with a price." Evelyn looked around. The clearing was scarred. Trees broken, earth churned, wolves watching silently. Her power had saved them, but she felt its toll deep in her bones. Every heartbeat, every breath, a reminder that the battle had changed her. She looked at Damon, and for a moment, the fear and exhaustion melted away. But beneath the relief, a seed of doubt took root. She had faced her greatest enemy, saved the one she loved, but the truth of her destiny loomed larger than ever. And deep down, she knew the real test had only just begun. The storm cleared, but the night still whispered secrets. Her power had triumphed, but at what cost? The forest was calm now. Rain had stopped, leaving the earth damp, the leaves glistening with silver light. The battle was over. The elders had fled, their power broken, their threats silenced. Wolves lingered in the shadows, watching, their eyes still wary but respectful. Evelyn sank to her knees, exhausted. Every muscle ached, every breath came in heavy gasps. Her hands were stained with mud, water, and the remnants of the energy she had wielded. But she was alive. Damon was alive. Her mother had survived. For a moment, she let herself simply breathe. Let herself feel relief. Damon staggered to her side, still bleeding, but managing a weak smile. "You did it," he said softly. "I knew you could." Evelyn shook her head, a tired smile brushing her lips. "We did it." Together, he reached for her hand. Despite his injuries, his touch was steady, grounding her. Every heartbeat between them was a reminder of the trials they had endured, the danger they had faced, and the bond they had forged. Her mother rose beside them, golden fur damp from rain, her eyes soft now but still alert. "You've changed, Evelyn," she said. "Not just because of what you did tonight, but because of who you are, who you've chosen to be." Evelyn's chest tightened. I still don't know if I can control it all." The power, the prophecy, the responsibility. Her mother knelt beside her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. Control comes with time, but courage, that is yours already. You faced your fear, your enemy, and yourself. That is what matters. Damon coughed, grimacing as he brushed rain from his fur. We've faced everything the world could throw at us, he said, voice rough. And yet, here we are, still standing. Evelyn's gaze softened. I was so scared tonight. I almost thought I would lose you. Or lose myself. Damon took her hands in his golden eyes unwavering. You didn't, and you never will. Not while we're together. Whatever comes next, we face it side by side, for the first time in days. Evelyn felt a warmth settle in her chest, a mixture of love, relief, and pride. The danger had been immense, the risk unimaginable, but she had survived. And so had the people and creatures she cared about most. The wolves began to move, returning to the forest silently, their eyes casting occasional glances of respect toward Evelyn. She realized something profound. She was no longer just a half-blood, a girl caught between worlds. She was part of the pack, part of something greater. Her blood, her destiny, her courage, they had saved lives tonight. Her mother studied her quietly. There is loss in every victory, she said softly, but also growth. You've gained strength, love, and the knowledge of who you truly are. Evelyn nodded, thinking of everything that had happened, the betrayals, the dangers, the awakenings, the pain, and the love. She had gained Damon, whose loyalty and courage had stood unwavering even in the face of death. She had gained her mother's guidance, her trust renewed after so many secrets. And she had gained a deeper understanding of herself, her heart, her power, and her place in the world. But she also felt the weight of what had been lost. The peaceful life she had once known was gone. The innocence of her childhood, the quiet simplicity of her village, those things could never return. She had been thrust into a world of prophecy, danger, and destiny. And yet, she would not trade it, not for anything. Damon shifted closer, brushing a wet strand of hair from her face. Are you all right? He asked softly. I am now, she whispered. Because you're here. Because we're alive. Because we survived. He smiled faintly, leaning close. We're more than survivors. We're stronger together. Evelyn's heart swelled. She pressed her forehead to his, savoring the quiet intimacy, the sense of safety she had never known before. This love had been tested by fire, by blood, by betrayal. It had survived. It had grown. Her mother watched them with a quiet pride. You have chosen well, she said. Love and courage. That is what binds the strongest of bonds. Evelyn took a deep breath, letting the cool night air fill her lungs. She looked at the forest, the broken trees, the scarred earth, and felt a deep gratitude. Every danger, every battle had led to this moment alive whole. And with the one she loved most by her side, she knelt for a moment beside the stones that had once pulsed with her awakening. They were still faintly glowing, reminders of the power she now carried. Power that could heal, protect, or destroy, but only if she chose wisely. She would choose wisely. Damon knelt beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. We've come so far, he said. Yes, she agreed, resting her head against his chest. And we have much farther to go. But I'm not afraid anymore. Not with you. Her mother placed a hand on her other shoulder, golden eyes, soft but firm. Courage comes not from the absence of fear, but from facing it. And you have faced everything, Evelyn. Remember that, always. Evelyn closed her eyes, feeling the rain drip softly across her face, feeling the warmth of Damon's presence, the gentle strength of her mother beside her. She had lost much, but she had gained more. She had learned her own strength, the depth of love, and the power of choice. The forest was quiet now. Wolves had disappeared into the shadows, leaving only the echoes of what had occurred. Yet in that silence, Evelyn felt a new kind of peace, a sense that while danger might always come, she had the power to face it, the courage to survive, and the love to guide her. She opened her eyes, meeting Damon's golden gaze. "Whatever comes next," she whispered, "we face it together." He smiled, brushing his lips against her forehead. "Always," he said. Evelyn looked to her mother one last time, seeing not just guidance, but hope. "Thank you," she said softly. Her mother nodded. "You've earned your place in this world, Evelyn. And in doing so, you've earned yourself." The night held them in quiet embrace. No more battles, no more immediate threats. Just survival, love, and the knowledge that life ebbed one touched by prophecy. Danger and blood could be beautiful, powerful, and full of hope. And as Evelyn stood with Damon at her side and her mother watching over them, she knew one undeniable truth. She had been changed forever, but she was ready. Ready for love, ready for life, ready for destiny. The forest whispered in approval, leaves rustling like soft applause. The storm had passed, and in its place, something eternal remained unbroken, a heart unyielding, and a future waiting to be written.